And we're joined on Absolutely Famous today by our rugby expert, former Marlborough Red Devils and King Country loose forward Greg Brimble from his beautiful hometown of Nowra in New South Wales. And Brims, you got a sore throat. You had a few beers on Saturday. You're a bit out of control, I think, were you?
Mate, my behaviour was disgraceful. Good afternoon, John. Thanks for having me on again. But my behaviour was disgraceful on the weekend. It certainly paled into insignificance compared to the All Blacks' performance. But I must apologise to any of my neighbours who may have heard me, or they're far enough away. Hopefully they didn't hear me. But I'm sorry about the language, neighbours. And I'm sorry for my behaviour. But I've never, ever yelled at a TV as much as what I did that night, and I'm suffering from it because of it, I think. So, yeah.
It was very, very, very sad times these are for the All Black supporters, and of course, total joy for Ireland. Before we dissect the All Blacks, what a fantastic performance by Ireland. One of the best coached teams I've seen, and just a team that plays as a team, and their 32-22 victory and series win thoroughly deserved.
Well, it was, wasn't it, John? And you need to give credit where credit's due on this. And the Irish team, very, very well coached and very well led by Farrell and Sexton. They were magnificent, and that's a performance in a series win that's been growing for some time, and it's been cultured and nurtured, and I just had a funny feeling before that last test that the Irish team might have been onto us, and they certainly proved that. And a very, very good Irish team. I think we shouldn't get carried away in dissecting New Zealand's performance in the immediate aftermath, because it's disrespectful to Ireland and the preparation and the coaching and the leadership and the results that team has achieved. So well done, Ireland. I mean, if you want to lose to any side in the world, I suppose it's Irish, because they're just such bloody good blokes. And you can see how much it meant to them as well. I mean, Peter O'Mahony, he was in tears afterwards. They were jumping, they were hugging. They were out of control later that night. I saw a video that of Bundy Archie and Peter O'Mahony down the street in Wellington. They were completely out of control. So obviously enjoyed the win, but yeah, really, really good victory for the Irish, mate.
Well, they got some superstars in that. They play as a team. That's one of their big strengths. But for me, the likes of Tad Byrne, the lock, Peter O'Mahony, Andrew Porter, the prop, Josh Van der Fly, the flanker, they're as good as it gets, really.
Oh, they were, mate. And they really do play as a team. You can see that in their performance on the field. It really is a 15-man or 23-man performance, what they put out there. They don't rely on individual pieces of brilliance like it seems like the All Blacks have tried to survive on in the last 12 to 18 months. They've got strength across the park, and they've got depth, and superbly led by Jonathan Sexton, who I didn't, to be honest, I didn't rate all that much until this series. And you touched on Josh De Fleer, the open side flanker for the Irish. What a fantastic player he is, and just complemented so well with in the loose forward trio there, with O'Mahony on the blind side. I mean, that's they've got balance, haven't they? They've got balance, and they play for each other, and you can see how much it means to them as well, John.
Yeah, very much so. And as far as the All Blacks goes, they were abysmal. I think the first half performance was as bad as I've ever seen, and this team, Brims, is in crisis, and it needs some drastic action to happen right now. I'm not talking about next month, the month after, next year, right now, this week.
Well, we've been heading for this, and I've said it before about Australian rugby. We are reaping now what we've sowed in the past, and it's a shame the state of play in New Zealand rugby at the moment. But who in their right mind would have appointed Ian Foster to the position of our national coach on the back of a series victory over the Wallabies, a very poor Wallabies side, you would say, with respect to Australian rugby, but we hadn't played any of the top five nations. We apart from South Africa, and we won one and lost one against the South Africans, but I just couldn't see how you would, or why you would cement his position as coach through to 2023 Rugby World Cup based on what little he had achieved. So yeah, sad state of affairs, John, and one that's been building for some time as well. This shouldn't be coming as a surprise to us because the writing's been on the wall, mate.
Been on the wall for a long time. I don't know anybody, I don't remember anybody, including myself and you, that was supportive of Ian Foster being named as coach, because I just shook my head and said this is just nepotism inside the New Zealand Rugby Union. You know, one's taking over from his other mate, and that's what it is. It's so amateurish that it defies logic.
Well, the selection process for the coach was amateurish, wasn't it? I mean, that effectively almost appointed Ian Foster as the All Blacks coach on the back of Steve Hansen's recommendation from his position as assistant coach of the All Blacks. But at the same time, we're inviting applications from all over the place, still asking Scott Robertson to show his interest, and even though they've pretty much appointed Foster, asking for expressions of interest from other coaches. I mean, it was so amateurish. It was hard to believe that you would get this from the world's most successful sporting team ever. That we would succumb to this type of selection process, and talk about old boys looking after the old boys. I mean, man alive! And as I say, we reap what we sow, and I look, Foster's out of his depth, and I think the people that the panel that appointed him, which included with respect to women's sport, included a netball coach and a banker, making the appointment of the All Blacks coach and giving him responsibility for the All Black team through to 2023 World Cup in France, was astonishing, to say the least. And
Sir Graham Henry, who was from the Hansen era.
Yes, exactly. No, it's hardly fierce thinking about it, but I have put a lot of thought into it, John, and as we touched on the other day when we were talking on the phone, as I was nursing a hangover on the lounge from Saturday night, the writing was on the wall, I believe, when we failed to win the series against the British and Irish Lions, and cracks really started to appear within that team then, and then continued into the following years. A decline as a competitive team against the top tier rugby sides accelerated when South Africa pulled out of the Southern Hemisphere tournament, and we weren't getting. We haven't had that really hard those hard competitive games week in, week out in Super Rugby, as well as in international rugby, the South African super sides and the Springboks. Now, they to me have always been the litmus test of how strong New Zealand rugby is. They're the ultimate test for me. And 2 years of playing amongst ourselves and against the pretty weak Australian Super Rugby teams, again with respect to Australian rugby, hasn't done us any good whatsoever. And we've really, really failed to look after our own stocks there and grow, because we can't grow as a rugby nation if we just keep on playing ourselves all the time. We have failed to evolve. New Zealand rugby has failed to evolve in the last 3 to 4 years. And that's the simple fact of it. New Zealand rugby has stayed where it is. And they've got to realise that what got you here is not going to get you there, John. So the rest of the world has picked up with us. They've overtaken us, and they're now leading the way. We're left sitting here going, what the bloody hell happened? Where did that go so badly wrong?
Yeah.
Well, we got some pretty good ideas of where it goes wrong, but I'm lost. I think you can tell, John. The frustration is just palpable. It's yeah.
Well, it's more frustrating for me because I know we've got the playing talent there. One of the biggest bugbears for me is the poor selections, picking players out of position, picking players who are not the best players. They've got a captain, Sam Cane, who shouldn't be anywhere near the All Black team, and he's captain.
Well, yeah, I mean to be captain of the All Blacks, I think there's 3 criteria that you need to meet. One is you need to be the best in your position in the country. Secondly, you need to be the best leader of the team that is selected. And third, in your position, you probably need to be the best in the world or in the top 2 or 3 in your position in the world. Now, there's the 3 criteria you should meet as All Black captain. And you look at the All Black captains we've had in the past: Buck Shelford, Richie McCaw, Kieran Reid, Wilson Winteray, Ian Kirkpatrick, Graham Morey, David Kirk. They're all players that were undoubtedly the best in their position in New Zealand, but also in the world, and were the strongest and best leaders in that team. Now, Sam Cane doesn't meet one of that criteria. I reckon he'd be a terrific bloke to go fishing with or camping and have a beer. And I've never met the bloke, but I would imagine he's a hell of a good bloke and a hell of a nice guy. But he's just not the All Black captain, because he's not the best player in the team, let alone the best player in his position.
No, it's crazy. I mean, the obvious captain to me, it stands out like a wart on the end of a nose, is Ardie Savea. The way he plays, he's an intelligent man. He's got total respect, and he is the best in his position, among the best in the world.
And he leads by example, John. I mean, there was not one bloke on that field that was trying harder on Saturday night than Ardie Savea, and he's done it all series as well. He has led from the front. He's tried his guts out, and his leg drive, his post-contact meters, his offloads, the way he's contributed to the side is the obvious natural captain for me. But I tell you what, what really sticks out for me is when the All Blacks are standing under the posts and they've had another try scored. You don't see the huddle called in. You don't see Sam Cane in the middle of it. Laying the law down. This is what you've got to do, you fellas. How much does this black jersey mean to you? Lift your game 100%, attention to detail. Don't let 1 minute of one lapse of concentration interrupt the task at hand. And he's not doing that. Sam Cane looks like a lost soul out there. He looks like a very, very lonely man, and he completely looks like he lacks any confidence whatsoever in himself or the confidence of the team, John. And it's sad to say that because he's, like I say, he's probably a bloody good bloke, but he's not the man that's going to lead us forward and take us to a competitive 2023 World Cup in France.
Speaking of selections again, I'm just gobsmacked by the fact that Will Jordan, who is out and out the best fullback in the country, potentially in the world, keeps getting stuck on the wing or not even in the 23. We've got Dane Coles, who's in the side at 35, hardly played this year, breaks down all the time, and Carl Tuukanafi at prop, who's not even available for the World Cup. What's going on?
Well, you just have to wonder about some of these selections, don't you? I mean, for a start, I do agree with you about Will Jordan. Now, he's the best fullback in New Zealand, and the breakout, the 2021 world breakout player as well. But he's stuck behind Geordie Barrett at fullback in the pecking order there, mainly because of Geordie Barrett's ability under the high ball, which is no better than Will Jordan, I might just add. But the fact that he can kick those big range penalties when it counts, so they find room for him on the wing. But I think you've got to pick the best players in their positions that play those positions week in and week out. And Will Jordan should be playing fullback for the All Blacks. And we pick our other specialist wingers. And we've got a number of good wingers around at the moment. Sevu Reece, Lester Fainganuku, Caleb Ralph. There's some really good wingers out there. But, Coles, and he's been a great contributor, a good battler, hasn't he, for New Zealand rugby. But at 35 years old, he's past his best use by date on the shelf. He'd be chucked in the special basket at Woolworths, I reckon. You buy him for 50 cents instead of $7.50, and that's where Colesy belongs at the moment. But when he was within his best use by date, you'd pick him up and pay $7.50 for him any day of the week. But And Carl Tuukanafi, well, that's the most baffling decision for me because I just don't. I mean, he's got bugger all game time anyway, John.
No.
I mean, what's you put surely? We spoke about that. Ethan de Groot, Ollie Norris. I mean, the Canterbury
Fletcher Newell and Tamatai Williams and
Newell. I mean, there's so many. You got Terrell Lomax sitting on the bench there, and they're continuing with the old bouncer from the bloody Otahuhu pub that's going to France next year to sort out his retirement fund, and here we are. It's beyond me, mate. And again, an indication, I think that Foster's completely lost the bloody plot there. I mean, it's baffling and puzzling and disappointing and just all at the same time, mate.
I'll put you on the spot here, Brims. You're in charge. You've been put in charge of New Zealand rugby. You've got a week to sort this debacle out. What are you going to do? What would you do?
Well, I think like any business. You just need to, sometimes you just need to call it, John. You just need to call it for what it is. And it's never nice making decisions sometimes regarding people's futures. But when you're put in a position of responsibility, you need to be accountable for the results of that organisation that you're responsible for. Thus, I would be sitting down with Ian Foster and saying, thanks very much, Fozzie. It's been great. Been nice knowing you. But we're going to move forward, sadly, without you, old mate, and without your assistance. And we're putting in a new coaching setup. And this is effective immediately. Scott Robertson and his coaching staff will be taking over the team, taking the team to South Africa. Will they get an opportunity to bond with the team and away from the spotlight in New Zealand, and as a group of players and as a squad to bond together and just reset some targets and some personal goals amongst the team. And thanks very much, mate, but you're gone.
Yeah, no, good cause. And also the team's been reselected as well, so you've got an opportunity there to change captains and get the personnel in you want if you're a new coach.
Absolutely, and the call obviously needs to be made. I think not only on Ian Foster and his assistant coaches as well, but on the leadership group within the All Blacks, and they need to be held accountable as well for the team's performances, because those performances, the leadership group are essentially the managers within your organisation, and they need to be held accountable for their departments, and Plumtree's department is the forwards. Well, that department hasn't been performing, and if that one department doesn't perform, it affects the whole business. Plum, you've been a great bloke as well. Catch you later. See you. You're gone. Let Razor put his own team in there, his own assistant coaching team, and we make some hard calls on some of those players that, quite frankly, have not performed to date in this series.
Totally agree. I've got a funny feeling Joe Smith will be in the mix somewhere, because he's been lucky that he's been on the peripheral, so you can't blame him for it. And ironically, the All Blacks' best performance came when Foster was nowhere near the team.
Yeah, that speaks volumes, doesn't it? It's and sadly as well, the only test they've won in the last 5, Foster was nowhere to be seen. He was holed up in a hotel room watching reruns of the Waikato Chiefs play back in 1973 or something. Not that the Chiefs were around in 1973, but it's ironic that the only game they've won and the only good performance they've really put together was when he wasn't there. But I was mentioning to you earlier on, and I laugh at that. I mean, at the end of last year, when they'd lost the last 2 tests against Ireland and France, and they lost 3 tests for the year, and Foster said, when I put it into context and look at the growth in the bigger squad overall, I think we're making some really good progress. This is what he said at the end of last season.
It's bizarre.
He said, but the last 2 weeks have certainly hurt and given us plenty of motivation for next year. I really believe in the group we've got at the moment. I was delighted with the progress. We've had some good lessons. There's a little bit of mental fatigue at the end of the season, blah, blah, blah. When we reflect on the year, I'm very, very satisfied. We've made great progress and we've got good depth. That was at the end of last season. Before the decider against Ireland, he said, everyone else is learning this is a high-quality team we're playing against. It's a serious decider. We love these occasions. There's an edge to it. It's a litmus test of how we've grown so much over the last few weeks. And what he said after the test, for us, we're a group working very hard. We've got a lot of belief of the solutions we've got, but we've got to be better at executing them. Oh, really? Bloody genius. We've been given a real marker in the sand for where we're at. Well, I'll tell you what, Johnny, I'm sick of this bullshit. I'm sick of hearing this blah, 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 coming out, the same old one-liners all the time. I'm over it, mate. It's talk. Yeah, we're growing as a group. We look forward to the challenge this week. We look forward to getting our heads kicked in again. It's like, I can't even read that, mate. It's just disgraceful. I'm sorry. But I'm so upset about this, and I'm so disappointed, as I know you are. And changes have got to be made, mate.
I know. Well said, Brims. Totally agree with you. On a happy note, mate, Joko Nora Joko. That's Joko Nora. How's the business going? You're racing away down there?
Joko
Nowra, sorry. Nowra.
Yeah, no,
Get my pronunciation
it's
right.
going good, mate. We've the rain's stopped for a little bit, but it's supposed to be back again over the next few days. So yeah, no, things are going good, mate. Going really good. Thank you.
Good stuff, Brims. Thanks a lot for your expertise, and I know how passionate you are. It comes across pretty clearly in this interview, and you and tens of thousands of others of us just hope the New Zealand Rugby Union finally have the balls and the intelligence to do the right thing here.
Well, I think we can safely speak for each other and other people when we say we expect better from our national side, and that changes need to be made, and we look forward to the next few weeks and seeing what those changes are.
Thanks, Brims. And could I suggest maybe a bit of counselling in the next couple of weeks before the South African series?
Mate, I think I'm going to need some counselling after the South African series. I can't see it getting any better, but well, we just carry on, don't we? We will continue to support the All Blacks no matter what.
Totally.
We'll always be behind our team, but we we've become a nation that doesn't accept poor performance, and when we see it happening in front of us and things that could change and affect those results, and they're not happening, then that's when we get disappointed, and that's just the passion we've got. It's no disrespect to New Zealand rugby. It's just how passionate we are, mate.
Well, we give a toss. That's the thing, Brims. And that's good. Thanks, mate. Always love chatting to you. Love your passion. See you, mate.
Thanks for having me.